Hey, so in this video, I'm going to do a deep dive on clay.com, which is a really, really powerful tool you might have heard of that can enhance your outbound campaigns, whether you're doing cold email, LinkedIn, cold call, even it can enhance your inbound GTM campaigns. So maybe you've heard of Clay, maybe you've tried it, maybe you're, a lot of people I talk to are using it already, but they don't really fully understand what it can do and what all the hype is about. And then some people are just seeing this like blow up all over their LinkedIn feed, and a lot of people are talking about it in the B2B world, but they don't really understand what it does. The biggest question here about Clay is like, what does it actually do, and like how can it help me in my outbound campaigns? Because it's a tool that can do a lot, but I find that a lot of people have a hard time understanding like the value prop. And what I'm going to do is explain it. I'm going to show you a couple of examples, and really I'm just going to show you like the most common use cases. Like there's a lot it can do, but I'm going to share with you the 3 to 5 things that we're doing day in, day out. That's helping us run better outbound campaigns and get more results. So just to kind of make it really simple and actionable for you. So what is Clay? This is a simple mental model. So Clay is really a GTM workflow tool. It helps you at each different step of your GTM process, right? Again, most people are using it for outbound, LinkedIn, email, cold calling, but it can really help with converting your inbound leads, connecting to your website, your CRM, and doing a lot of other stuff across the whole go-to-market playbook. It's kind of like a spreadsheet. When you open it up, in about a few minutes here, I'm going to open it up and show you, but it looks like a spreadsheet. But instead of just having rows and columns, it also connects to a lot of other different marketing, sales, and GTM tools all in one place. One way I like to think about it is it's kind of like Zapier, but for go-to-market teams. But again, that's really an oversimplification. It's much more flexible, it's more outbound focused, and it's honestly much easier to use. It really lets you automate as well as enhance a lot of parts of your outbound workflow without having to jump between tools. And that's really one of the biggest problems that we found in the outbound marketing space, right? With cold email, there's so many different tools you need to stitch together, right? Building lead lists, email validation, now using AI to personalize copy, enriching data with different tools, finding out more research about different accounts and companies you're trying to target. It's all these different tools, right? So what makes Clay powerful is that by connecting multiple tools, data sources, and AI together, Clay helps you save time by automating what's usually pretty manual for GTM work. So it just helps you basically like run campaigns faster, right? And it eliminates a lot of manual work for GTM leaders, SDRs, salespeople, right? And then aside from saving time, the second benefit is that it'll help you improve the campaign performance by giving you better data to run campaigns off of and helping you personalize your messaging in your campaigns at scale. So it just helps you write better copy, so to speak. So really, instead of stitching tools together manually, it's kind of the system that coordinates everything. So here are the most common use cases that we're using. Again, there's a lot of things that you can do with Clay, but I just want to walk you through the most typical things I'm doing in Clay at my agency, where we run outbound campaigns for B2B companies. And this is again, mostly what other people are using Clay for as well. So if you just learn these things, this is really the 80-20. So we use it to build bigger and better lead lists. So here's an example. Bigger and better lead lists, meaning normally you might go to a database like Apollo or LinkedIn Sales Navigator to build a lead list. You're going to say, hey, I want to target, Series A SaaS companies. Give me a list of the founders, right? Normally people might go to one source like Apollo or LinkedIn to get a list of that ICP, right? The problem is that's just one database, right? So if you really want to maximize your total addressable market and reach everyone, you want to run that search in a few different databases, right? You might want to go to Apollo and LinkedIn and see, there's some leads that LinkedIn has that Apollo doesn't, right? Maybe you also want to scrape Google Maps and you want to find businesses that aren't really on LinkedIn, right? Maybe you even want to find company lookalikes. There's a tool called Ocean where you can upload a list of target companies and it can just search the web to find similar companies to those. That's a really great campaign playbook we run. We'll take like a list of our customers, like a list of our clients, like, cause we're an agency, right? So we'll say, hey, give us a list of your previous customers and we'll use Ocean to find similar companies, right? Anyways, to really maximize your time and build the biggest lead list possible, you need to use a couple different databases. But normally the old way would be go to one database, right? And then download that CSV and then upload it to another database and then use that as like an exclusion because you don't want to repay for the same leads and see what other ones you can get, right? Really long process. It can take hours. Now you can just do it all in one place because again, Clay is like a spreadsheet, right? So you can run a search from one database and then you can run a search from another database all within Clay. And then also you can build better lead lists because you're by connecting to all these different database tools, you can access all these data sources in one place, combine them, you can enrich lead lists. Second is you can maximize contact data from using multiple sources. So same thing, once you have a list of companies and people you want to reach out to, well, now you need to get their email address, and now that you need to get their phone number. So if you have a list of companies and their emails, maybe you upload those emails to something like Neverbounce, like an email validation tool. And you find out that, okay, 60% of these emails are valid. Let me throw out the other 40%. Well, that's a lot of leads wasted, right? So what a lot of smart outbound operators do is they'll use multiple email validation tools. They'd run the leads through Neverbounce, get the valid emails, and then all the invalid ones, they'd try to run it through another email finder tool like Find Email or something to see if they can get more emails out of those ones that Neverbounce rejected, right? Again, multiple tools saving, taking a lot of time. But really, this is what you want to do if you want to maximize your total addressable market. Same thing with phone numbers, right? There's some data providers that might get you really good phone numbers for one particular market or territory if you're doing cold calling, but some data providers might fall flat. So by using a couple of different data providers, you can maximize the contact coverage, right? So if you have a list of let's say that you have a few different ICPs, right? But let's say that you have a list of your top 2,000 target companies, like the best companies to work with. You really want to penetrate that list as much as possible, right? You really want to get as much contact info and phone numbers, emails, whatever you're doing for that list so that you can really, again, reach the highest amount of people in your best market segment. Next, so it's great for building bigger, better lead lists and having more contact data, which honestly, from being in cold email for a very, very long time, having good lists is half the battle. Like when you have really the right lists and the right contact information, that has a huge impact on your ability to actually get responses and results. It's one of the biggest levers, I'd say. I'd say that and deliverability. Next is you can enrich and research anything about a lead. So this is really useful for lead scoring and personalization. So in the next point I have here that you can qualify, score, and segment leads based on what you research. So essentially, one of the main reasons we use Clay is because it connects to OpenAI and Claude and other AI tools. Honestly, if all it did was just be a really good spreadsheet that we can connect to these AI tools, that alone is like very useful because we use that a lot for that. What that means is if I have a list of 1,000 companies that we want to run outbound campaigns to, I can then have an AI. I can then have AI check each lead, right? I can prompt it to say, "Hey, go to each of these 1,000 businesses and tell me this. Tell me, when the last time they raised money was, or tell me if they're launching any new products based on their social media posts, right? Or tell me if they're hiring or if they're firing or if they have any open job roles, like whatever it is, whatever I want to know about a company or a list of companies or an individual person at that company, I can prompt AI to research that. And I can use this information to do a few things. I can qualify the leads, right? I can score the leads and I can know what the best leads are. And I can also use this research to inform my messaging so we can write personalized outbound. And rather than sending one template to every lead, we're customizing each email because we've done research about that account. Again, this is what normally a salesperson would do, but it takes them a lot of time. And a lot of people I work with, like they don't have a sales team doing all this. So they're just resorting to like a very generic templated approach, right? And you can do this for other things too. So for example, we recently started running some Facebook ads for our agency Revenue Boost. And when you're running, PPC ads like Facebook ads, you can upload a list of emails. You can upload a list of people that you want to target with your Facebook ads. Well, now instead of me just uploading a random email list, I can use Clay to build a really targeted lead list. I can qualify my list to make sure I'm only getting my ICP and only send the best leads to Facebook. So now I can spend less money on Facebook to really just get my ads in front of the right people. So that's an example of how you can kind of use this across the whole go-to-market stack, right? And then again, you can use AI to generate and improve messaging using that research. So I'll share some examples in a bit, but a pretty simple example of this that I like to reference a lot because this worked really well was we were running cold email for an e-commerce business. They were an agency, so they were an e-commerce marketing agency. They wanted to target e-commerce brands so that they could sell marketing services to, right? That's a really competitive, tough niche. Now, we've gotten great results in it, but it's tough because it's very competitive. A lot of agencies out there are selling the same services to these same brands, right? So we figured, hey, let's personalize our messaging so that we can stand out and so that we don't just sound like every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there that has an e-commerce Facebook ads agency, right? So two things we did. One, we built a lead list right within Clay, using also connecting to store leads, and we had AI check each. We had SEMrush actually check each business. So basically, again, Clay can integrate to a lot of tools. So it integrates with SEMrush, which tells you about a business's website traffic, right? And then now we have SEMrush telling us, here's where they're getting all their traffic from. They're getting half of it from paid social, half of it from search, etc. Then we're having AI analyze that and tell us what's their dominant channel. Are they running Facebook ads? Are they running Google ads? Are they running neither? Are they running just one of the two? And then based on that, based on whatever their current advertising activity is, they're getting a different message and they're going to a different campaign. So that can all happen within Clay. Again, you could do this manually, but imagine how much time that would take. And then now we can send relevant messaging that stands out. We can say, hey, I noticed you're running Facebook ads, but you're not running Google ads. What if we created a Google ad strategy for you for free, right? That's, again, a lot more relevant than just reaching out to e-commerce businesses and saying, hey, we do marketing, right? And we also had AI analyze their website to find the top selling product of each brand. And we put that in the subject line. So imagine now we can email all these e-commerce founders and mention their top selling product in the subject line. It's going to really pique their attention, right? So that's, again, 90% of our usage. And yeah, again, the thing that we use the most in Clay is just AI. So really, like at its core, Clay lets us infuse AI directly across all parts of the outbound workflow. It replaces manual lead research because now we can have AI agents research each lead and tell us anything we want about that business or person. We can personalize emails dynamically using lead data. We can generate message variations and have it custom write emails at scale or just write parts of emails. We can qualify and score leads automatically. We're not just using AI because it's a buzzword. We're using AI because it allows us to write really relevant and high converting messaging without manual work. So one common question is like, where does this fit in my tech stack? It does not replace outreach tools. It sits in the middle of everything we already use. So we're still using Apollo and tools like D7 to scrape Google Maps to find leads, but then we bring those leads into Clay. We enrich data, we do that research, we find the contact information, we validate it, we do the research, and then we personalize the messaging. And then we pull that cleaned, enriched data and the personalized messaging snippets into our outreach tools. So we're still pushing the data from Clay to instantly for cold email and hey, reach for LinkedIn. And let's say that you have a cold calling team. You could push data from Clay to your cold calling team and say, hey, here's the 100 leads you need to call today. Here's their accurate phone number. Here's 3 bullet points about the company's priorities, right? And then imagine how much more efficient your cold calling team could be. Like most SDRs that are doing cold calling are spending like often half of their day just doing like admin work, right? Just researching leads and prepping for the calls. Well, imagine if they didn't have to do that. They could first of all make better cold calls because they could know a couple of key bullet points about each lead before they reach out, and they can make twice the amount of cold calls in a day, right? So again, Clay kind of sits in the middle, right? In between like the list building tool and the outreach tool. Although you can build lists within Clay as well. So it also has its own list building tool, but sometimes we like to go outside of Clay to use the other tools that we've been using for a while. But again, you can also even start the process in Clay. So I just share with you the most common use cases. Here's a couple of other more creative ones that I've been doing and I've seen other people do. So beyond the more core use cases, here kind of like a couple of cool edge cases just to show you what's possible. And again, the whole point of having a GTM connector tool is you can kind of connect to a lot of different apps and do a lot of really creative stuff, right? So again, really, it just lets you do almost anything with data. So you can maintain a master lead list or a do not contact list. You can keep all of your TAM in one place. You can monitor certain accounts for new signals or events. Like if there's anything you want to track about a list of companies so that you can find you can wait for like a timely opportunity to reach out to them. You can monitor that, right? For example, you can have a list of companies and you could track their blog posts. You could track news about that company. You could track if they have product launches, and then that could alert you or even just push it right to an outbound email campaign whenever one of these trigger events happen. Now, this might be different for whatever you're selling, but just as an example, if you want to really focus on relevant timely outreach, you can just monitor a list of companies and have it alert you when something is happening at that company that could be a good reason for you to reach out, right? And then also you could send a Slack alert or an email alert when certain criteria is met, right? So let's say that like you had some sort of service that was helping companies that are going through mergers and acquisitions, right? Let's say that you were some sort of like CFO or accounting service, and you specialized in helping companies that are going through the mergers and acquisitions, right? Well, what if you just took a list of companies that are likely to be going through like a list of mergers and acquisitions, like maybe they're at the right size or stage, and then you basically track news about that company and blog posts and social media posts, And then whenever something is posted that they're announcing a merger, that can basically ping your salesperson, right? It can send a message to the salesperson, hey, cold call this lead. They're going through a merger. Now we can call them and offer them our services, right? As well as you can even then push that instantly to send them an automated cold email so that you can basically reach out at the perfect time and say, hey, I noticed you're going through this merger with blah, blah, blah. Congratulations. Some of the problems you might run into at this stage are X, Y, and Z, and we can help you with that, right? So you see how this can make your outreach a lot better. Also, a lot of people use it for CRM data enrichment. So you can, if you have a really big CRM database, you can enrich your data with more research. You can also like clean it up, like deduplicate contacts, right? Again, we talked about this, but you can support cold calling with research snippets per lead and valid contact info. You can pull a recent LinkedIn post of a certain person to like see what they're posting about. It even integrates with Triggerfy. So you could even build a list of people on LinkedIn within your market that are talking about a certain topic, right? So I could make a list today of people that are referencing Outbound in their post, right? Or I can make a list of people that have posted recently using the keyword clay, and we can reach out and we can offer clay automation services, right? Because then we can know that people are like actually talking about this topic and it's on their mind already before we try to sell to them, right? I've even seen people generating personalized landing pages for ABM campaigns. So taking a list of leads and having Clay plug into a landing page builder tool. I think I've seen people do this with like Lovable, like an AI tool. And it's actually generating a custom landing page for each lead on the list and then sending that to them in the email campaign, which that was like wild. And that's just not even scratching the surface. So hope you can see how it's, what's possible now. Another question is, I've heard Clay is really expensive. If you use it right, it can actually save you money. Clay just feels expensive if it's used incorrectly. So how it works is you get Clay credits, right? You buy a Clay plan and you get Clay credits. And you can access all these different tools like email validation or AI or whatever you're doing through Clay credits, right? And this is really cool because instead of paying for a license to all these different software tools, you can just use them from Clay use them through Clay credits. So let's say that I wanted to test out, well, here's a great example, right? We wanted to get SEMrush traffic for that one campaign I mentioned. So normally I would have had to buy a SEMrush subscription, which I wouldn't want to do just if I'm testing like one quick campaign, right? But instead of me having to buy SEMrush integrates with Clay. I can buy access to SEMrush by using my Clay credits. So I could just run this SEMrush idea for this campaign on a short list of leads, just using a few of my Clay credits. And then if the campaign works, which it did, I can then buy SEMrush subscription if I want to save money because, Clay credits add their markup, of course, right? So once a tool proves useful, so we'll usually use Clay credits to test out a tool. But then once we know we're going to keep using that tool, we'll buy a subscription and connect it directly because Clay allows you to use all of these different tools connecting through your API key, which means that Clay isn't making any money off you running that enrichment. You're just basically like using your software account, like your license and your API key, right? So if you're spending like thousands of dollars a month on Clay, maybe it's because you're just thinking you have to use more Clay credits rather than using API connections. So again, you don't have to rely on Clay credits. You can connect your own API keys. So we use OpenAI for all of our AI research and copy. We have licenses to different data providers for enrichment, and we're just using Clay as the connector to kind of do it all in one place and save us time and any other tools. So again, Clay credits are best used for testing, experimenting, and validating tools before committing. But once you know that, hey, this tool works, we're going to keep using it in this workflow, then you can just connect the tool to API and just pay a subscription, which you would do anyway. So that's a high level intro to Clay. Now I'm going to take a minute to show you what a Clay table actually looks like so you can kind of just see it. Before we jump in, a few quick things. I'm releasing a full Clay course for free on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be posting a new video every week or two from here on out. And it's going to include a step-by-step walkthrough every use case I mentioned. So all the use cases I shared before, there's going to be a video coming soon of a deep dive, and you can actually watch me build it. So subscribe to my YouTube channel now if you haven't already, and you're going to see a full Clay playlist with all the videos. Now, if you're watching this video like the day after I posted this, then obviously there's going to be nothing there yet, but subscribe and then you'll be notified next week when the next one comes out. Now, if you want to try Clay yourself, use my referral link in the description below. You'll get 3,000 free credits, and selfishly, I get 3,000 free credits too. But test it out, right? You test it out and see what it can do. So use my referral link in the description to sign up. And then also comment template in the comments below I will send you my most used Clay template so that you can start using some of these use cases without having to like build everything from scratch. So I recommend learning Clay and using it. It's really powerful. But you can at least, even before you kind of master it, you can actually start doing some of these things with my template. So comment template if you like that and I'll get it to you. So let me just show you an example. Here's an example of what it looks like. This is a Clay table. And this is how some of the AI personalization works. So we uploaded a list of businesses. We already had the contact information here, so we didn't need to actually like use Clay to find contacts at these companies or validate emails. But we just wanted to personalize the messaging. So first, we wanted to qualify these leads. We only want to reach companies that have over 20 employees. So we ran a formula here to just mark a checkbox if these. So first, we use AI to actually research these companies, right? So you can see here that. Look on the right. So this is how you would prompt Clay. So again, see how we're connecting it to the different AI tools. And then we're prompting it just like we would prompt ChatGPT. And we're saying, hey, look up this company and tell me how many employees they have. And here's a couple places you can look to find these, to find this information. So, you want to give it a little bit of guidance. By the way, there'll be another video coming soon just about really how to like use AI and prompt it well within Clay. But just stay tuned for that. So anyways, we use Clay to find out how many employees the company has. If it's below 20, we're going to mark it false. And then we can make a filter here to say, hey, only show me the companies that have 20 plus employees, right? So now So now instead of reaching out to a bunch of people that are not our ICP, we're only reaching out to the most qualified leads. Then we want to also find out who's their audience. So in this case, we're targeting roofing companies for one of our clients. And we want to say, who does this roofing company sell to? Do they sell to homeowners? Do they sell to commercial clients? The reason we want to know that is because we're going to use that in the copy. So you know how when you upload an email campaign into something like Instantly or Smart Lead, you can have a custom variable, like you can put first name in the email and you can have each email insert the person's first name. Well, you can also do that with other things. This is how you can personalize your messaging at scale. So in our email copy, we have a line that's like, hey, I see you target homeowners, or hey, I see you target commercial clients, right? So now we can customize your emails without having to actually hand edit and write each one. Same thing here. We have just kind of like a fun creative opener here. But for the first line of the email, we're having it look up where the person lives and just call out like a cool restaurant in their area. This sometimes works. Sometimes works better in some markets than others, but this is just kind of like a fun, thing to do to like pattern interrupt. So every email we're sending, the first email has this kind of creative opener and people might be like, hey, I like that restaurant, right? Just a little way to build some rapport. But also one of the reasons we do this is for email deliverability. So when you're doing cold email at scale, one of the problems you run into, which is a very big problem, is email deliverability. The more that you scale your cold email, the more that you're going to land in spam. One of the many ways that we combat spam for our compliance, for our clients, is we have more dynamic messaging. So when you send the same exact email template tens of thousands of times, Google and Microsoft, they can recognize that. And that's one of the things that hurts your spam score, right? So if all of your emails look different, if your emails have a lot of dynamic text in them, like just text that's different and unique compared to the next email that goes out, that makes your emails look more human. It makes it look more like it's actually a person sending these emails because that's how a human would use their email, right? So using more personalization in our emails, yes, it's a way to make our emails be more customized to the prospect and to stand out a little bit more. But also the byproduct of it is that it helps us with email deliverability because we have more unique text going out and it's harder for Google to track, the same email being sent out a million times and, putting us on their shit list, so to speak. Right. And then look, we also connect this with Instantly and we can add the lead to the campaign here. Right. So we can actually just push it right to a specific campaign in our Instantly account and actually, initiate the sequence all in one. Right. Here's another one. This is for contact information. This is a template. This is a template I can share with you, but we upload a list of leads or we build a list of leads in Clay. And then we do what I mentioned before, which is waterfall verification. So remember how I mentioned that if you want to get the most amount of contact information from a list, you need to use multiple data providers to find their email or their phone number because not one is going to get all of them. Well, this is how we do that, right? So we have instantly verified the email. And then we have formulas in here to show that, hey, if Instantly cannot verify the email, then let's use this other tool, which is ICPs, to verify the email. Now, same thing here, by the way, right? I have my API key connected. So instead of spending on Clay credits, I'm using my API key to save a lot of cost. Um, so we have a couple different tools here. So we basically program it to say, hey, find me the valid email. If the email is not valid, then use this tool to find an email. If this tool cannot find an email, use this tool to find an email, and so on and so on and so forth. And there's like a ton of different validation tools you can use in Clay to find emails and find mobile numbers. We'll typically use the most reliable and cheapest ones first, and then kind of go up to the higher cost ones later in the workflow. So it's like an ascending cost structure, because if we put the most expensive data tools first, then we'd be spending more money than we have to, right? So there's a lot of things you can do to optimize costs. I'll probably make a whole video about it, but that's just an example. And then some other things too we do is we normalize the company name. So sometimes companies might have like Inc. or LLC in the name if we get it, but if you say that in an email, it's going to look weird. It's going to look automated. So Clay has a lot of other helpful enrichments to kind of clean up your data, this being one of them, to normalize the company name. And then same thing here. We just have like a second layer to normalize the company names here as well. And then the job title as well. So sometimes people might have a really weird long job title because they might just put something like creative on LinkedIn, right? And if you say that in the email, if you reference the job title in their email, it's going to look weird. And we like to often include the person's job title in the email so that it just looks more personalized. So same thing here. We can just say, hey, go to this list of job titles, clean it up, just make sure it's just, like, again, sometimes job titles might be this, but if you say this in an email, it's just going to look odd. So we would just tell them to change it to this, right? And then again, add it to a campaign. So a couple examples, but again, many more videos coming soon. So subscribe for more content, and let me know any questions below. Comment template if you'd like this Clay template, among a few others that I use pretty often.
Hey, I'm AJ Cassata, co-founder of Revenue Boost. Really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you do, make sure to leave me a comment and definitely subscribe right now so that you're notified of all the cool stuff we're doing, all the cool tactics, tips, and strategies that we share here on the channel. We help B2B companies scale to 7 to 8 figures. We've helped over 400 clients, and we can help you too. And we share some amazing stuff on the channel here. So really hope you enjoyed. And if you do, let me know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe. All right, back to the video.